Welcome back. Joining us virtually this afternoon, we have Miss Ray from Cycle Zydeco. Good afternoon. How are you doing today?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So you guys just wrapped up Cycle Zydeco this past weekend. How was this year's event?
It was amazing. We had 350 cyclists from 41 states.
Wow.
And a few countries. We were projected to have 800, but COVID and everything. So we were grateful to have 350 people that we came and welcomed to Acadiana. And Acadiana and Cajun Country, thank you so much for the hospitality you showed to our riders. People were just coming up to me and telling me how amazing just locals were to them. And I'm grateful to you all for that.
Yeah, and y'all have a list of sponsors to put on this event. I feel like that's a task in and of itself.
I would need my own show, Taylor. Just the list of volunteers. We had some volunteers that worked 14-hour days.
Oh my gosh. And
we had volunteers that had put in over 200 hours of volunteering before the event even started. Flossie Turner, Carrie Behrens, Frédéric Dardan, Jeffrey Lanson. These people put in just weeks and weeks of time before the event started, and not to mention the people that were there for 5 days, some working 14 hours. And we are so humbled by their service, and it was just amazing. I met so many amazing people, just the volunteers that were here. And no, it was humbling. That's the only word I can say. Just the gratitude from the riders and the help from the volunteers that we could have never done. We couldn't have done it without them. And it was just incredible.
And I know Cycle Zydeco sadly has come to an end, but what's in store for you guys for future?
Well, we're already starting Cycle Zydeco 22, so that's already in the works because it takes a long time. And of course, we have 11 events a year through Trail at latrail.org, and we have 3 more this season. So the 24th and 25th, we have Bayou Vermilion Paddle Battle, which is a paddling event, and also Shark Bayou Blast, which is on a Sunday, the 25th. So that'll be at a Sycamore Point, another paddling event. And then the 26th, we welcome more cyclists for 4 days of cycling. Oh, wow. Starting in Lafayette, then heading to Morgan City, Baton Rouge, La Place, and then off to New Orleans. So that's the ball, Bike Across La Louisiane. And that will finish off our season. And then we have 4 very short months to plan the 11 events that'll come up behind it. The first being the Responders Race, kind of run a mile in their shoes, but it'll be 5K, 10K, and stuff. So that'll be for our first responders. That
a lot right on your plate, for sure. Miss Ray, really quick before we go, we're out of time. What's that website where people can go and learn more about you guys at LA Trail?
latrail.org or cyclezydeco.org. And if you want to volunteer, we're always looking for people. And there's a volunteering website link on both of those places.
Perfect. Ms. Ray, thank you so much for joining us virtually this afternoon. If you at home want to learn more, we're going to post all of this information on our website, klaf.com. Before we go, let's check in with Adam.